Hi everyone and a warm welcome to our Style3D tutorial. I'm Julia, your today's guide on this digital fashion journey. First of all, you may easily download the software on the official website Style3D.com. Just look for the big purple button on the main page and that's where you start. Also, I've prepared a special QR code for you to scan. It's your key to all the additional assets you need today. So be sure you scan it and grab everything you need for our today's workshop. Before we get started, let me share an amazing opportunity with you. You may participate in Style3D activities, win prizes, and get free trials. Also, if you are creating with me together, you may share your work in Instagram using tag Style3D Show, and I will be waiting for your works. You will also have great chance to win free trials. Now let's dive in and create some stunning digital fashion designs together. So let's start our tutorial. I will sew our dress on a basic avatar shape, so you will be able to find it easily in your resource library. Go to the avatar folder in the left menu and tap open the female avatar. You may leave it as it is, but I would like to make her a bit taller. So I tap on the avatar and find the edit avatar button on our property editor. Here you can see that we have so many options, but I'm just going to add another 2 centimeters to her height. When it's ready, just close the window and all edits will be saved. And here is our reference for the dress we are creating today, and as we see, we need to create a basic corset shape. I will make your life easier today and won't make it from scratch. We need to go to our resource library again and open the female t-shirt. And it's already prepared for sewing, but we don't need the sleeves and the neckline part. So we just need to select it in our 2D window and delete. So that's great. Now tap the simulate button and see what we have. It's pretty nice, and from here we are starting our adjustments to create the perfect basic shape. I just select our pattern in the 2D window and decrease the size. You need also to move it in the 3D window for a fit and tap simulate again. I would like to select our patterns again and go to the property editor and set our particle distance to 10. This way we will see the fit better. I think that looks pretty great, so let's move on. Now I will need to make our basic shape shorter. So I'm going to move patterns in our 2D window closer to this avatar's shadow. Then let's get the pen tool in the toolbar and we'll need to create a waistline on our front and back patterns. And please pay attention that we have a symmetry pattern edge here, so we need to draw the line just on one part of our pattern. Okay, let's review how it looks in the 3D window. And we need to look at the 3D view to draw the waistline on the back pattern. That's it. Now I will take the Edit Curve Point tool and add some curve to our lines to make it smooth. We need to make it just a little bit. Okay, now switch to the Edit Pattern tool, select our lines, right-click and select Cut. So we don't need these patterns anymore and just need to select them and delete. Then we need to tap to simulate and review our results. I see that maybe we need to make it a bit longer now. So select the Edit Pattern tool and then select our lines, holding the Shift button and just drag it down a bit to make it longer. I will also need to make our waistline a bit smaller, and as always, tap to simulate and check our results. One small adjustment I need to make it perfect. Select our patterns and make them a bit longer, then simulate to check. Then I will need to split the upper part. Let's take a pen tool from our toolbar and we need to draw this top line of our corset. Always look at the 3D window to check your future form. Then select the Edit Curve Point tool and we need to edit our armhole a bit so it doesn't intersect with our corset line. And then just make the corset line smoother with the same tool. Okay, that's it, and we move on to the back pattern. We need to do the same line using the pen tool. I will make it just straight. That's great, and let's check it in the 3D window and continue. Now select our lines with the Edit Pattern tool, right-click and tap Cut and Sew. Do the same to the back pattern. Now we wouldn't delete the upper parts of our patterns, they will hold our shape. So we need to move to the fabric menu, select our main fabric and copy it. Select the new fabric we created and go to the property editor and decrease the alpha to make it more transparent. Then you will need to choose our upper patterns and in the property editor set the fabric to copy 1. We will make it totally transparent at the end. I also want to rename our fabrics to navigate better. Okay, it's ready for now, and I will select our patterns, right click and tap strengthen, and then just simulate to check the results. Perfect, our basic corset shape is great now. We are moving to the next part and we will create a skirt for our dress. It will have 5 layers, so there's pretty much work to do. We need to go to our toolbar and choose the ellipse shape tool. Left mouse click, hold and drag to form our ellipse. This will be the basic shape of our skirt. Then we need to select the edit pattern tool, then select the ellipse line with double click, left mouse click and tap add internal line. Here we need to set the space, let's test a bit and probably I will move on with 35. Tap OK. We now have this perfect internal line and need to right click and tap cut. This new shape we just need to delete. Now we are moving to our 3D window, tap on the pattern and using the appeared gizmo tool we need to locate our skirt pattern as I will show it. So the model is just standing inside the ellipse-shaped pattern. Then to avoid the simulation issues, I will open our upper menu and find the avatar folder where I select skeleton. Select our shoulder bone and tap on the small symmetry button and move the arms, so they shouldn't intersect with the skirt pattern. The next step, I will select the free sewing tool and we need to sew the skirt pattern to the corset. Check the seam direction to avoid reverse seams. You will perfectly see what's going on in your 3D window. Each quarter of the ellipse pattern is sewed to each quarter of the corset. Check the seams one more time and tap simulate. We have a great shape now. Let's select the skirt seam line with the edit pattern tool and in property editor turn on the elastic option. We need to decrease the ratio. I think that 30 would be great. I see that we need to adjust the pattern a bit. Select the shape into the window and decrease the size of it a bit. Simulate to check. Then I will need to select the outside ellipse line with a double click and right click and tap offset pattern outline. We need to set the distance and 7 cm would be perfect. Simulate to check again. I think it's perfect for now and I just want to select our skirt pattern and set the particle distance to 10. Simulate it again and we are moving on to the next part. We need to create new internal lines on our corset to sew the new skirt layers, so they wouldn't intersect and will work better in simulation. Using the edit pattern tool, I am selecting the corset line, right click and tap add internal line. Here we need to set the space to 0.7 cm and repeat the same scene for the back pattern. So the lines are done and we're going to create a new skirt layer. I just want to delete these basic lines because I don't need them. Just select the trace tool and go to our 2D window, select the base lines and tap delete. To create the next skirt layer, we need to select our skirt pattern in the 2D window, right click and tap generate lining outside. Then select the place for the new pattern. Now we need to right click on the new layer and select remove linked editing. After generating the line, we have the seams on our new skirt layer that we need to delete using the edit sewing tool. You may just select all seam lines and tap delete. Now we may look at our new skirt layer that is already set in the 3D window, already has the shape and we need just to sew it to the corset. So just select the freeze hewn tool in our toolbar and create new seams. The same way as we did for previous skirt layer, but sew to the new internal line on the corset. Don't forget to control your seams and watching what's going on in the 3D window. And in a few moments we have it. Now we may also select the Set Assembler tool and set the right layers to our skirt part. Tap on the highest layer first and then on the layer under it. Then simulate and check. We have now a perfect new layer that we will adjust a bit because we have different length skirt layers. So we need to get the Edit Pattern tool, then select the outline of the new skirt layer, right click and tap Add Internal Line. Here I would set the space to 3 cm, tap OK. Now we need to right-click on our new internal line and tap Cut. This new shape we need just to select and delete. So it's how we changed the length for the skirt layer. We also need to simulate and check as always. The same way we need to create rim layers for the skirt, so we also need new internal lines on the corset. Using the Edit Pattern tool, select the previous internal line, right-click and select Add Internal Line. Set the same space to 0.7 cm. Here we need to zoom and review the new line. I see that it doesn't intersect the outline of the pattern, so I just select the point and move it to the right place. Repeat the same steps on the back pattern and also review where your internal line ends, because they should intersect the outline of the pattern. And when we have it, move to creating the new layer. The process is exactly the same here. We just select the previous layer, right-click and tap Generate Line Outside. Don't forget to right-click again on the new layer and tap Remove Linked Editing. Then using the Edit Hewn tool, select all the seams we have on the new layer and delete them. Go to the Freeze Hewn tool and sew the new skirt layer to the new internal lines on our corset. And we already have the previous seam lines as the reference, so just repeat it. And as we did before, choose the Set Assembler tool and set the newest skirt layer as a layer behind the previous one. Simulate when ready and check all the results. I think it's looking pretty great for now, and if we have such small simulation issues, we move the garment a bit and wait a few seconds for simulation and it should be solved. Also, every next upper layer of the skirt should have a bit longer sewn line, so the circle pattern we have should have a bit bigger inside circle shape than the previous one. I just select the inside shape and scale it a bit, simulate when ready to check. Next step, we need to make this new layer shorter according to our reference. The steps are the same as we did before. Using the Edit Pattern tool, select the outline of the pattern, right-click and tap Add Internal Line. In the opened window, set the space to 3 cm and tap OK. The new internal line we need to right-click and tap Cut. Then delete this new shape, simulate and check. The third layer of the skirt is ready, but we need to create 2 more layers. The creation of the next layer follows the same steps, so we are creating the new internal lines on the corset, edit the internal lines length so it intersects the outline pattern, and repeat the same for the back pattern. Then generate the lining outside the previous layer. Remove linked editing. Delete the generated seam lines. Here we also need to select the internal ellipse shape and scale it a bit. After that, sew the new layer to the new internal lines on the corset using the Freeze Hewn tool. When it's ready, do not forget to use the Set Sublayer tool and set the newest skirt layer at the highest layer. Move the new shape up in the 3D window and simulate to check. As the seam line is longer here, we need to select the internal ellipse line and decrease the elastic ratio in the settings. 26 works great here. Let's check now, and we have it. I'm going to create the 5th layer of our skirt, and we have already learned how to make it. I will just speed up this part since I'm using the same steps as we did it before. Okay, we have it now and just need to simulate to review. As there are so many layers, we have some simulation issues that will be fixed after our next few steps. But first I need to select the seam line and decrease the elastic ratio a bit. Next step, I will need to set the new fabric for our skirt. So let's select fabric 1 in our menu and copy it. Then rename this copy to skirt. And now we need to select all skirt layers and in the property editor change the fabric from fabric 1 to skirt. Select the skirt fabric in the menu and let's go to the property editor and change the fabric type to polyester organza. Simulate and wait a few seconds to see the updated shape. I also want to set a new color for the skirt, so it would be easier to see all the details in the 3D window. The color we may also change in the property editor. And before we move to updating the corset, I would like to make our skirt even more puffy, so I will add another layer and will speed up this part. Don't forget to review your internal line lengths on the corset. Don't forget to scale the internal ellipse shape and set the sublayer. And we finally have it, so let's simulate and review. I love how puffy it is now, and this additional layer will make even more sense when we will add all details to our skirt. So let's check everything, and we are moving to updating the corset. We are now working with the corset, and we need to create these lace parts as shown in our reference and then add the gatherings. Let's select the skirt patterns, right click and freeze them. Zoom in on the corset pattern and we need to split the belt part. So using the Edit Pattern tool, select the latest internal line on the corset, right-click and tap Cut and Sew. Repeat the same steps for the back pattern. Now we need to take the pen tool and create the lines where the lace parts will be located on the corset. As we have a symmetry edge, the line will be duplicated on the symmetry side. I'm creating the front lace part and the lace parts on the sides of the corset. And repeating the same steps on the back garment. And also do not forget to monitor all your actions by watching the 3D window. When it's ready, hold the Shift button and select all the lines we've created. Then right-click and tap Cut and Sew. I will need to create a new fabric for this new lace parts, so let's move for the fabric menu, select fabric 1 and copy it. I will rename it to corset lace, and now we need to select all the lace parts in the 2D window while holding the Shift. And in the property editor, set the fabric to corset lace. Then I will select this fabric in the menu and decrease the alpha in the property editor. And we don't have the texture here, but we can already see the construction well. Next, I will create the upper part of the corset and we'll need to select the main corset parts, right-click and tap Generate Lining Outside. Locate it in the studio window, then right-click and choose Remove Linked Editing. Also, we need to unstrengthen it and right-click a third time to select Apply Symmetry. Now we have two symmetrical patterns and we need to make them wider, so it will create gatherings after simulating. And let's simulate to review. And you see that I need more volume here, so let's make it even wider and simulate again. When it's done, I need to select the outline and add elasticity to it. We can turn on the simulation and adjust our elasticity in real time. I think I will set it to 40. To make the gatherings more detailed, we need to lower the particle distance, so select the patterns and set it to 7 in the property editor and simulate to check. We're moving to the back of the corset and we need to create the same gatherings here. Let's generate the lining outside the pattern. Then right-click and tap Remove Linked Editing. Select the new patterns, right-click and tap Apply Symmetry, and don't forget to unstrengthen. Now I'm making these parts wider, moving them in the 3D window to the right place. And turning on the simulation. You see that it's already not bad, but it needs some adjustments. I'm going to the 2D window and using the Edit Pattern tool and edit this shape. Let's simulate to check and see that it's much better now. As last thing, I want to decrease the pattern height a bit and simulate again. Great. And also I'm selecting the gatherings and setting the particle distance to 7. Then simulating to check afterward. A few seconds I need to organize everything in the 2D window and we're moving to create the straps. Let's look at our reference to remember the shape we need. You see we will create ruffles that will be attached to these straps. So we need to create the straps on our invisible corset parts, but we still keep them because they will hold the whole construction. So I'm using the pen tool and start to create the straps in the front pattern. Also zoom into our avatar in the 3D window to control where the lines are located. When it's ready, I need to create the strap line on the back pattern and we need to make the front and back straps align seamlessly. So I'm going to control this process in the 3D window, zooming closer to the line and placing the dots of our internal line in the 3D window. Okay, we now have the basic lines of the straps and I need to select these lines of the front pattern, right-click and tap Add Internal Line. In the Appeared window, set the space to 1 cm, count to 1 and mark the Use Extended Outline. Tap OK. The same steps we need to make for the back pattern. Tap Add Internal Line, but here in the window choose the Backward option. Okay, we have drawn the lines of the straps. Now select these lines holding the Shift button, right-click and tap Cut and Sew. Now select the straps while holding Shift button and in the Property Editor set the fabric to Fabric 1. Now we may select the Copy 1 fabric in the Property Editor and decrease the alpha to 0. So we have done the straps and we're moving to creating the ruffles. I'm going to freeze everything, so select all patterns in the 2D window, right-click and tap Freeze. We will create the ruffles from the basic shape, so select the rectangle tool in our toolbar and draw the narrow pattern that looks like a line. And notice how long should it be. Then I zoom in and select the Edit Curve Point tool, find the place in the middle of the pattern and put the curve point, move it to take this curve shape. Okay, that's it. Now I need to find this piece in the 3D window, so select it and using the Appear Gizmo tool, locate it around our avatar behind the straps. and it should be as close to the strap as possible. Okay, now we need to create a new seam and sew the ruffle to the strap. I'm selecting the free sewing tool, create a first seam line on the ruffle pattern, and then find the side on the straps where we will create a seam line. The 3D window will help us to find it. Okay, let's hold the shift button and create the seam line on the front strap, and holding shift, create the seam line on the back strap. Reviewing the 3D window, and your seams shouldn't be reversed. Then select the ruffle and set the vertical distance to 10 in the property editor. Simulate to check. And let's help our simulation process a bit, because I see some issues here. Okay, yeah, that's great now, and we are moving on. Next, we need to create a second ruffle that would be narrowed a bit. I will select the first ruffle, right-click and tap Generate Lining Inside, and locate it in the 2D window. Right-click again and tap Remove Linked Editing. Now we have the duplicate of the previous ruffle and we'll edit it. First, let's get the Edit Sewing tool and delete all generated seams, but leave only this main seam line. Okay, then get the Carve Point tool and decrease the carviness of the new ruffle a bit, so it should be more narrow now. Simulate to check, and I also want to split the ruffles during the simulating, so just drag it so it should be opened and not looking like duplicates. When it's ready, I need to create the decorative pattern edge that should be like the lettuce edge. So I need to tap on the outline of the pattern, right-click and tap Add Internal Line. In the Appeared window, I select Default and set the space to 0.3 cm. Then right-click on this line and tap Cut and Sew. So we have these outlined shapes, and now select them holding Shift and make them longer. When it's ready, turn on the simulation, and after a few seconds we have this lettuce edge shape, and I want to select this lettuce parts and add Strengthen. That's looking great, and select all the ruffles and change the particle distance to 5. Simulate to check. I love how it's volumed up and smooth now. So we need to create the same ruffle for the second strap. I'm just selecting the ruffles patterns in the 2D window, right-click and tap Symmetry Pattern with Seam, placing it in the 2D window, and now we need to find it in the 3D window, and using the Gizmo tool, locate these new ruffles as close as possible to the strap. We already have all the seams, so just turn on the simulation and check the result. Okay, the ruffles are done and looking great, and I love the shape, so we're moving back to the skirt to make it more detailed. Now I'm going to unfreeze the dress and freeze the ruffles to continue. To start with, I've decided that I want to make the upper skirt lower a bit shorter, so I zoom into this part and using the Edit Pattern tool, select the outline of the pattern, right-click and tap Add Internal Line. Here we need to set the space to 2 cm and tap OK. Now we need to right-click on this line and tap Cut, then just delete this new shape. Okay, now we will create this lettuce edge effect on every layer of the skirt. I will show the detailed process on the first layer and will speed up the next process. So I get the Edit Pattern tool and need to select the outline of the circle skirt pattern. Then right-click and tap Add Internal Line. Here we need to set the space to 0.5 centimeters and tap OK. Now right click on this new line and tap Cut in Sew. So we now have this new circle shape that is already sewed to the main skirt pattern, and all we need is to select this new shape and scale it. Then right click on it and tap Strengthen. Now we just need to turn on the simulation and review the result. The same steps we will do to all the next layers. I also recommend freezing the corset and freezing the previous skirt layer to continue. So you will need to freeze every pattern that you finish, so it wouldn't interfere with the simulation and you will avoid issues. I'm speeding up the process now until we've done with all the lattice edges for every skirt layer. When everything is done, I'm selecting all skirt patterns in the 2D window, right click and tap Unfreeze. Then turn on the simulation to review everything. Okay, now I want to create new fabrics for our lattice edges on ruffles and skirt. So let's copy the skirt fabric and rename it to Sleeve Details. Then select the lattice edge parts, holding the Shift button in the Property editor, change the fabric to Sleeve Details. After that, make a copy of the Sleeve Details fabric, rename it to Skirt Details, and then holding the Shift button, select all the lattice edges on the skirt layers and set the fabric to skirt details in the property editor. Okay, we've done this part and I want to select all patterns in the 2D window and freeze them. Next we're moving to creating the gloves. We will start creating the gloves with just a basic rectangle shape. So let's choose the rectangle tool in the toolbar and create the shape. Okay, now we need to position it around the arm before simulation. So let's go to the menu on the upper side and tap Avatar, then select Arrangement. We see now the arrangement points and we need to select the glove pattern and tap on the top arrangement point on the arm. Then using the Gizmo tool, I'm positioning this pattern as close as possible to the arm. When it's done, select the Segment Sewing tool and sew the two sides of the pattern. I also need to change the particle distance to 5 and turn on the simulation. Okay, this is where we are starting the glove pattern adjustments to make it fit the arm. I need to move the fabric to cover the finger here and we continue. Firstly, decrease the width of the pattern a bit, then using the pen tool I need to create a straight line splitting the pattern into two symmetrical parts. Right click on this new line and choose Convert to Symmetry Axis. Then I get the Add Point tool and we need to add a point on the wrist part of the pattern. Using the Edit Pattern tool, move these points to make the wrist part smaller and simulate to check. We see that the glove is tight now and feels great, so we need to create a cutout for the finger and I need to cancel the symmetry axis first. And then choose this ellipse tool in the toolbar and draw the ellipse internal shape on the glove pattern. Then right-click on the shape, tap Cut and just delete the cutout part. Turn on the simulation and move the fabric under the finger. I will add strengthen to the glove too, if we will solve the simulation issues. And I think we need to decrease the size of the cutout, so let's try it and simulate again. Now it's much better and we need to create gathering on the glove. So we need to select the sides of the pattern, right-click and turn on the elastic in Property Editor. Set the ratio to 60 and let's simulate to check. As the pattern is tight, we need to move it and shape it during the simulating to form these gatherings. When we've done it, I want to decrease the length of the glove and make it a bit wider at the top. Simulate again to check and form more gatherings. Just a few details left, so I need to change the fabric settings for the gloves. Let's go to the Property Editor, scroll down and change the fabric preset to default. In addition, I will make it white and move to the 2D window. Select the cutout shape, right-click and tap Add Internal Line. In the Appeared window, set the space to 0.5 cm. Then right-click and cut and sew. We have created the finishing edge and I need to right-click and choose Generate Lining Outside and simulate to check. Next, select the pattern edges and add strengthen to them. So we have a much finished cutout that fits perfectly, and I want to create the same finishing edge on the side with the fingers. Just the same steps here, select the outline, right-click and add an internal line. Cut and sew the new line, then right-click and tap Generate Lining Outside. Apply strengthen to this part and simulate to review. Well, we have done the glove and need to duplicate it now. So select the glove in the 2D window, right-click and choose Symmetry Pattern with Seam. Locate it in the 2D window and using the Gizmo tool, move it in the 3D window to fit the arm. Simulate and check the result. So we are moving to the next part of creating a necklace. It will be a close-fitting necklace and also we'll create it from basic shapes. So let's get the rectangle tool and draw a small stripe in the 2D window. Then get the segment sewing tool and sew the sides. Select the pattern and let's go to the Property Editor, turn on the bond and set the particle distance to 5. Now in the upper menu we need to open Arrangement, select the necklace pattern and tap on the arrangement point on the neck. I anyway will need to use the Gizmo tool and move the necklace pattern as close as possible to the neck. Simulate to get the result. Now we need to create the ruffles around the necklace, so select the sides of the necklace pattern, right-click and tap Offset Pattern Outline. In the opened window, set the distance to 1.2 cm and mark a Create Internal Line. Okay, now select these internal lines, right-click and tap Cut and Sew. We need to choose these lines together and in the Property Editor, turn off the bond and set the particle distance to 3. Now we need to increase the length of the striped patterns and turn on the simulation. In a few seconds we have perfect ruffles and we're moving to adding the metallic studs. I will add them as buttons, so we need to go to the library section with buttons, select the default button and in the Property Editor find this button library. Here we need to choose a rivet. Let's test which size of it we need. I just add one stud to the pattern in a default size and see it's too big. So I will set the width to 0.6 cm and the thickness to 3. This size would be perfect and I just delete this test button from the pattern. Let's go to the side of the necklace pattern Using the button tool, we need to right-click on the necklace and in the appeared window set the angle to 0, interval to 0.5, and I'm decreasing the number of the buttons until it will fill the whole line. So 54 works great here. Tap OK and we see that we have the perfect line made of studs. We need to create the same second line, so let's right click at the beginning of the necklace pattern and set the same settings in the opened window. Interval to 0.5, angle to 0 and number to 54. Tap OK. Check the result and we see that it's perfect. Before turning on the simulation, I need to select all the buttons and in the property editor, turn off the collision. When it's done, we may turn on the simulation and check. I think that's perfect and we've done the main work and moving to setting the fabrics. Now we need to unfreeze everything and I see that we don't have separate fabric for the ruffles or sleeves. So I just make a copy of the skirt fabric and rename it to sleeves. Select the ruffles in the 3D window and in the property editor change the fabric to sleeves. Now I need to change all fabric colors to white. And to see all the textures better, I'm going to the upper menu, select Colors 3D and turn off all the color display. Next we need to set the transparent map to all patterns made of lace. So let's select the skirt fabric in the property editor, find the transparent map, open our lace map, and in the texture transformation set the whites to 10. The same texture we need to add to the gloves fabric, sleeves and corset lace. I also see that we need to select the ruffles on the necklace and change the fabric in the property editor to sleeves, so it should be also made of lace. The last thing we need to do is choose the fabric 1, sleeve details and skirt details fabrics, and in the property editor set the render type to silk. And we are ready with this step. Let's move to the last part where I will set up the model, all details, and prepare the scene for the rendering. I'm going to change the appearance of our model first of all. I open the avatar menu and appearance folder. Here select Alexa. Then let's go to the avatar menu and the hair folder. I would like to choose this princess cut and I want to make her totally blonde. So select the hair in the 3D window and in the property editor, change the color to white and delete the hair's basic texture. That's it, but I also need to find the scalp part of the hair, select it in the 3D window and delete the texture of it. Next, I need to change shoes because we will create fur boots and need that great base for it. In the shoes folder, I choose lace short boots and I also need them completely white. So select the shoes in this 3D window and delete the texture of it in the property editor. Great, we have a total white look and may proceed to create fur parts on the boots. It would be similar to glove creation and I need to get the rectangle tool in the toolbar. The avatar shadow in the 2D window will be our guidance and I'm drawing the rectangle shape here. Then select the pattern and set the particle distance to 7. In the upper menu, find the avatar folder, select arrangement, and now we need to position the pattern around the leg using arrangement points. Move it as close as possible. When it's done, get the segment tune tool and sew the sides of the pattern. Turn on the simulation to get the result. So right-click on the boots pattern and tap Symmetry pattern with Seam. Locate it next to the previous pattern in the 2D window and we have the perfect second boot. Next, I need to create the outline edge, so select the outline of the patterns, right-click and tap Add internal line. Here set the space to 2 cm, right-click on the lines, tap Cut and Sew. Select the new parts, right-click on them and tap Generate the lining outside. The shape of the fur boots is done and I need to create the 2 new fabrics called boots and metal parts. Select the main parts and in the property editor change the fabric to boots. For the upper strapped parts, change the fabric to metal parts and set the render type to metal. Now we need to select the boots fabric and in the property editor change the render type to fur. Then scroll down, set the fur preset to fox and change the color to white. We will check the fur on the boots in the render as it's visible only in rendering. We are on the final stage to finish everything, and now I want to show you how to easily pose your avatar. So I will need to select all our clothes and freeze them, then go to the upper menu and in the garment folder and check to hide our clothes. We need to find the avatar folder in the resource library and then find the pose folder. We will use the standard poses as a base that we will edit, but first of all we need to select the avatar, right click and tap Save Pose. I will name it as Basic Pose and tap OK. This pose will appear in the pose folder and we will need it later. Now I'm selecting the standard pose Sport 15 from the library and we will edit it. Open the upper menu, select skeleton and now we see all the bones that we may move to achieve the pose we need. I'm just selecting the bones and moving the avatar's body with the gizmo tool, so I will speed up this process. When it's done, switch off the skeleton view in the upper menu and we need to right-click on the avatar and save pose. I will name it as New Pose, and this pose also will be saved in the pose folder with all other assets. And we have now our basic pose and the new one, so switch the avatar to the basic pose and then in the upper menu switch on the garment and unfreeze everything. Next we are moving to the animation editor and here we need to tap on pose and select from this list our new pose. In the appear to window set the transition to 3. So now we have the animated movement of our avatar from the start pose to the final. And all we need to do is to turn on the record button and wait until it's done. So the pose is ready and we made the process smooth and without any issues. All I want to add to our dress is a bit more puffiness to the skirt, so I decided to add ruffles to our two lower layers. I will make them with all tools that we have already learned. So I select the outline of the lower skirt layer, right click and tap Add internal line. Set the space to 10 cm. Now we need to cut and sew this part and generate the lining outside. Right-click on the new shape and tap Remove Linked Editing. I need to make this shape bigger, but also avoid the simulation issues we probably may have. So I will right-click on the outline and tap Offset Pattern Outline. Here we need to set the distance to 5 and we need to select the inside shape and scale it. So we have the ruffle shape and we increased the size of it without changing the 3D shape. Now we need just simulate and check. I also need to set the sub-layers and I will delete the transparent map on the skirt to see better what's going on in the 3D window. Great, and now we need to delete all the outline seams on the ruffle and create this lettuce edge as we did it before. cut the new outline shape, scale it and simulate. Also, don't forget to change the fabric to skirt details for the new lattice edge. Exactly the same ruffle I will add to the next skirt layer, so all steps are the same and I will just speed up this part. When the second ruffle is ready, we have a much more better shape, and I put the transparent map back on the skirt fabric. Also in the property editor, I want to set the skirt fabric weight to 25 and simulate to check the result. I see that we have two transparent skirts and we need just to solve it. So select the lower skirt pattern, right click and tap generate the lining inside. Then we need to choose this new lining and set the fabric to fabric 1, simulate to check. In addition, I need to set the thickness to 1 for the sleeves details and skirt details, and then find the fabric in the upper menu and switch on the closed thickness. So we're ready to set up the location, and I will add the floor as an obj object. In the opened window, set the load type to add, the object type to load as prop. Switch the render type to metal, and it's a simple plane, and I will add a transparent map on it so it will have this blurred size. Now I want to add the stand for the model, and I will create it from the cylinder shape that we may find in the prop folder. Select the basic figure and shape it with the gizmo tool or change settings in the property editor. So it should be like a stand metal prop. Then I will add the disco balls. I will also load them as a prop and locate them in the 3D window using the gizmo tool. When it's ready in the property editor, set the render type to metal. Next we need to add the tubes made of light. I will also create them from the cylinder basic shape, and all I need is to set the X and Z scale to 1 and Y scale to 300. Copy and paste this tube, so we need 4 of them, and then locate them in the background behind the avatar. Then in the property editor, set the render type for the tubes to light. So we're moving to setting the render. Switch to the offline render. Here choose the render image property, and in the property editor set the image size. Switch the device to GPU, noise to 0, max render time to 2 minutes, render quality to high, and turn on the denoise. Next, move to the light property, and in the light library choose high contrast. Mark make all lights lock to camera, then enable HDR and set the basic HDR map. I need this map intensity only for 0.25 and angle to 76. So the settings are done for now, and let's start the render and review the result. I see we have great boots, and I love how metal looks in this light, and all I want to edit is to move the tubes to the sides and decrease the light intensity for the tubes in the property editor. So we have done everything, and I want to open the multiple folder where we may set new frames to render. I will add 2 shots, review the settings and tap local render. And so after a few minutes we have our completed renders, and I'm so proud of you if you are still here and have finished this dress.